You have now cleaned out the division, including 2 featherweight champions, and then move up and go after 170, either after losing the belt or you move up and get the second title. Why can't that happen? I don't understand. If you were already willing to fight in 47 days, if Belal would have won, you're telling me if a couple of judges scored it differently, you were fighting in 47 days? You know what I mean?
And we have been waiting to kind of understand and know what the hell is going on. How could it be so short that we don't know yet?
UFC CEO Dana White's recent comments suggesting the showdown between lightweight champion Islam Makhachev and rising star Ilia Topuria may not materialize at UFC 317 ignited a firestorm of criticism across the MMA community. Ariel Helwani voiced his dissatisfaction with the cancellation of the Makhachev versus Topuria fight, questioning the logic behind the decision. He pointed out that International Fight Week is 47 days away and highlighted that Jack Della Maddalena had just come out of a brutal war with Belal Muhammad. Helwani argued that given the timeline and JDM's recent battle, it would have made more sense for Islam to face Ilia first. According to him, a fight between Makhachev and Topuria wouldn't have interfered with a future bout against JDM, win or lose, and could have preserved both high-stakes matchups for the fans.
47? Yep. 47. Is 47 days away, right? It's 47 days away. JDM was just in an absolute war. Why can't Islam fight Ilia in 47 days and then win or lose? His next fight is at 170. Why can't? There's one guy left, and it's such a gigantic fight. It's the second biggest fight that the UFC could put on. Some might say the biggest, given how popular they both are. Why can't he fight in 47 days? If Belal was going to win tonight, if what we're being told is accurate, he was going to fight in 47 days.
No, it's a
That's
great
the part
point.
that I don't understand.
And
if I'm the UFC, I'm kind of annoyed.
And like, if this happens, I mean, I guess the only risk is that maybe you potentially lose like the sheen of his the invincibility or whatever he's, if he moves up, like maybe that goes away. I don't know.
The continued expression of frustration, Ariel questioned the UFC's decision-making regarding the cancellation of the Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria fight. He challenged the logic behind the move, asking why the bout couldn't still happen given the timeline. Helwani pointed out that UFC International Fight Week is 47 days away and raised a hypothetical scenario that if a few judges had scored the JDM versus Belal Muhammad fight just a little differently and Belal had won, Makhachev would have been expected to fight in that same time frame. He questioned why, under those circumstances, a fight with Topuria now seems off the table, adding to the confusion and dissatisfaction surrounding the promotion's planning.
You have now cleaned out the division, including 2 featherweight champions, and then move up and go after 170, either after losing the belt or you move up and get the second title. Why can't that happen? I don't understand. If you were already willing to fight in 47 days, if Belal would have won, you're telling me if a couple of judges scored it differently, you were fighting in 47 days? You know what I mean?
Moreover, Helwani revealed that he had reached out to Ilia Topuria's team to seek clarification on the status of the rumored matchup with Islam Makhachev. According to Helwani, Topuria's camp chose not to confirm or announce anything at this time, remaining tight-lipped about the situation. They indicated that while no official statement would be made immediately, there is a possibility that some form of confirmation or update could come in the near future, potentially within the next week. The vague response has only added to the uncertainty surrounding the fight and heightened speculation within the MMA community.
Than I am, but like in terms of the public and what Dana and everybody is kind of saying and the fighters themselves, you're just not hearing everything. It's not satisfactory to understand their thought process on this.
Yeah, I checked in with Ilia's team this evening asking, do you guys think you're gonna like get the official announcement tonight? And they said, nah, probably not. Maybe early next week. I'm like, golly, this is like the longest freaking story saga of all time. In case you're wondering, Dana White has not appeared at the post-fight press conference yet, so perhaps we are going to get that scene of him walking up with the piece of paper just announcing the International Fight Week main event.
Torn out piece of paper, yeah.
Yes.
In addition, Tim Welsh expressed his disappointment over the cancellation of the Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria fight, revealing his eagerness to see Makhachev dominate Topuria in a dominant performance. Welsh had been particularly excited about the matchup, anticipating a one-sided affair where Makhachev would overpower Topuria, leaving fans in awe of his skill and power. With the fight now off the table, Welsh and other fans are left wondering when they'll see such a high-stakes contest come to fruition.
It's a lot, but he's Ilia Topuria has never thrown a kick above the waist ever in his UFC career. He's got this wide boxing stance. I feel like there is obviously there's a puncher's chance, but as soon as Islam grabs a hold of him, I think it's going to be over. And it's when you're fighting someone who's an orthodox boxer, it's not that hard to time a shot to the legs. And I'm sure Ilia is a really good grappler, really good black belt, but I think Islam's just going to be too strong, too powerful, and he's gonna submit Ilia Topuria. Just Islam's Islam's fucking 5'11". He's huge. Everyone at even middleweights, champion like Luke Rockhold, these guys are a great grappler.
He's 5'11", damn.
Say Islam is such a monster on the ground. When he gets on top of you, you ain't getting up.
On the feet, is he good?
And he's sharp on the feet. He's very sharp. He's not like Khabib. Khabib was reckless.
Yeah.
He's more sharp punches. Islam is like sharp boxing.
Furthermore, a Reddit user voiced frustration over JDM changing the course of UFC fights, claiming that the fighter ruined everyone's plans in one night. The comment came after JDM's surprising victory, which disrupted previously anticipated matchups and expectations within the MMA community. Fans had been looking forward to other bouts, but JDM's impact on the event shifted the focus, leaving many disappointed that their desired matchups were derailed by the unexpected result. He stated, ruined Dana White, Hunter Campbell, Ilia Topuria, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Bilal Muhammad, Arman Tsarukyan, and Charles Oliveira's plans in one night. Legendary Aussie. Amid growing speculation around Islam Makhachev's next move, one Reddit user offered a compelling perspective on what might come next for the UFC lightweight champion. The commenter suggests that Makhachev may be eyeing a permanent move to the welterweight division, where fresh challenges await. However, he also believed the fighter is strategically keeping his lightweight title as a fallback. The fan wrote, if Islam wins, I doubt he drops back down. There's nothing more to gain from lightweight, but still loads of interesting matchups at welterweight. I think he's refusing to give it up as a backup plan because if he loses, then he can just say it's the weight disadvantage and continue his streak at lightweight. However, Islam Makhachev's coach, Javier Mendez, responded to the cancellation of the Topuria matchup by downplaying the setback, suggesting that a potential title fight against Jack Della Maddalena could be more significant. According to Mendez, while the bout with Ilia Topuria was highly anticipated, a showdown with JD would also carry major legacy implications for Makhachev's career.
If they grant that to Islam, if that's what the UFC decides to do, it would be a legacy fight for Islam, because his goal was to fight for that welterweight title if it was available, meaning Bilal wasn't there. But now that Bilal's not there, if the UFC grants him that would be unbelievable, and even more unbelievable if it grants him that fight in a favorable place for us, but who knows? Let's see what they come up with. Like I said in the past, I've never been involved in any of, it's hard to say. It's hard to say if he's a harder challenge. I just know Islam wants this one. So for me, that's the challenge I want, and it's the challenge that I know Islam's going to be, supreme over, because I just know his skill set. I know what he brings to the table, and he brings an incredible work ethic along with skill set in every area. So, Islam's a whole different animal than Jack's ever been involved with. So if that fight does materialize, we're going to see a hell of a fight, and you're going to see Islam.
Addressing the ongoing debate surrounding Ilia Topuria's next move, Coach Javier Mendez stated that having Topuria face Charles Oliveira first would be a logical step, allowing the featherweight champion to prove himself at 155 pounds before challenging Islam Makhachev. Mendez emphasized that this approach would not only validate Topuria's capabilities in the lightweight division, but also align with fan demand. According to him, once Makhachev handles business with Maddalena, a fully prepared and proven Topuria would set the stage for a high-stakes clash that the MMA world has been eager to see.
Now it makes more sense to have this super fight with Ilia Topuria now that he's proven himself at 155.
Of course, yeah, of course. That would make everybody happy. If something like that were to happen, and the UFC gods make those decisions and everybody accepts, that would be the ideal situation. You know, and again, like I said, these are actual facts of what could happen and are going to be discussed. I know that what we're talking about are discussions to be made. What will happen, we don't know, but we're pretty close. I'm pretty sure about that. I mean, it's very obvious. Anybody that's a real fan and follows the sport knows that, you know, this is the actual scenarios that could play out. Train year round. That's why they're always getting so good all the time. They're always different when they fight. They're much better because they're always putting time in the gym. You know, it depends on, you know, how much they go in as far as hard work. You know, I don't think Islam's doing much sparring at all unless he needs to spar to help one of his teammates.
Adding his voice, Daniel Cormier voiced his earlier frustration over the confusion surrounding recent UFC matchups, expressing that the lack of clarity had been a source of irritation. However, he acknowledged a sense of relief now that the fight schedule has been clarified, with official announcements finally shedding light on who is set to face whom. Cormier welcomed the transparency, noting that having a clear picture moving forward brings much needed order to the current landscape of the promotion.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to hear that conversation in terms of how do we get you to fight Topuria, or how do we get you to commit to fighting at 170? I know Islam's not afraid of anyone. I know Ilia is not afraid of anyone. Those guys will fight anybody. I'm just happy that now we've finally gotten to a point where we understand who is fighting who. So, International Fight Week, it's one of the biggest fight cards of the entire year. And we have been waiting to kind of understand and know what the hell is going on. How could it be so short that we don't know yet? All the while, this thing with Islam and Ilia and Bilal and Jack and Charles, that's all in the works, right? It never stops. But when that comes to fruition, the 205-pound fight, okay, it's not necessarily needed. Okay? We're going to do this thing at 155. So you're fine. We can wait until you fight.
Furthermore, Ariel raised questions about Topuria's stance amid the shakeup in potential matchups, wondering how the undefeated former champion feels about the situation. Helwani speculated whether Topuria is quietly frustrated and disappointed over losing the chance to face Islam, or if he's intentionally remaining silent out of respect for a future opponent in Charles Oliveira. He questioned if the fight with Makhachev doesn't materialize and a bout with Oliveira for a possible vacant title is offered instead. Would Ilia view that as a satisfying alternative or even a more favorable opportunity at this stage of his career?
28 years old, 8-0 in the UFC, 18-2 overall. Like I said, lost his first 2 pro fights and hasn't lost since. By the way, if you're Ilia Topuria, not sure if he's awake right now. It's I think 6 or 7 in the morning in Spain. Are you pissed that you're not getting Islam, or are you happy that perhaps, with no disrespect to Charles, you may be getting a more favorable matchup?
Man, I think he'd be pissed. Isn't he that kind of guy, like that just wants to go?
He tweeted at him this morning.
Yeah,
happy Saturday.
I think he'd be pissed. I mean, you know, you do the math on this whole thing, this whole equation, and you're like, the big winner is probably Charles Oliveira, right?
Meanwhile, Michael Bisping weighed in on the situation, questioning the UFC's direction following Dana White's decision to pivot Islam Makhachev toward a potential second division title shot, with Makhachev seemingly embarking on a side quest to become a 2-division champion. Bisping posed a critical question, asking should the UFC strip him of the lightweight title to allow Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira to compete for the vacant belt, or should the promotion instead introduce an interim title to keep the division active?
He's going to fight Jack Della Maddalena at 170 pounds. So the question is, whilst Islam is going off on this side quest to become a 2-weight division champion, and fair play to it, he's the pound for pound #1 greatest fighter in the sport, okay? He deserves these opportunities. But the question is, while we're kicking the ball around and playing devil's advocate, should Islam Makhachev be stripped of the title, or should they bring in an interim title? Ilia Topuria will fight Charles do Bronx Oliveira, okay? That's a sensational, mouth-watering matchup. I cannot wait to see it. It's a great clash of styles. The beautiful boxing and the Greco-Roman wrestling of Ilia Topuria combined with the supreme confidence, and of course now he's bigger, he's stronger, he's looking ripped. He hasn't got to drink loads of red wine on the Thursday night to make the weight.
Are you intoxicated?
No, he's coming in refreshed, stronger, bigger. The punching power will be improved.
However, Michael suggested that stripping Islam Makhachev of the lightweight title might make sense, sense, noting the division is still stacked with worthy contenders. With Makhachev pursuing a second title, Bisping questioned whether it's fair to stall the division while others wait for their shot.
He's going to fight Jack Della Maddalena at 170 pounds. So the question is, whilst Islam is going off on this side quest to become a two-weight division champion, and fair play to it, he's the pound-for-pound #1 greatest fighter in the sport, okay? He deserves these opportunities. But the question is, while we're kicking the ball around and playing devil's advocate, should Islam Makhachev be stripped of the title, or should they bring in an interim title? Ilia Topuria will fight Charles do Bronx Oliveira, okay? That's a sensational, mouth-watering matchup. I cannot wait to see it. It's a great clash of styles. The beautiful boxing and the Greco-Roman wrestling of Ilia Topuria combined with the supreme confidence, and of course now he's bigger, he's stronger, he's looking ripped. He hasn't got to drink loads of red wine on the Thursday night to make the weight.
Are you intoxicated?
No, he's coming in refreshed, stronger, bigger. The punching power will be improved.
In addition, Bisping also acknowledged that Islam Makhachev has been a strong and reliable champion, defending his title against all challengers and even stepping up on short notice when needed.
They say that Islam should be stripped. Now, I think that's crazy, but they do raise some good points. When you look at the lightweight rankings, there is some people that he hasn't yet fought. I'm looking at them right now, of course. There's Arman Sarukian, he's #1. There's Justin Gaethje, that's #3. Max Holloway's #4. There's Mateusz Gamrot. There's Paddy Pimblett. There's a lot of viable contenders. Jeff, even win at 170 pounds? Does he become a two-weight division champion? Because Jack Della Maddalena is no walk in the park. We saw that Saturday night. He beat Belal Muhammad, that in some ways might be a bigger, stronger version of Islam Makhachev. They certainly have a similar style. Belal Muhammad's boxing was certainly improved, and you can't question the chit. Okay, he took a tremendous amount of damage and still pushed forward. So if I'm Jack Della Maddalena, I've just beat Belal Muhammad. Now a smaller version, Islam, wants to come up that maybe isn't as clean as a striker as Jack, that does have...
Bisping added that it is not official that Jack versus Islam will happen. It is still possible that other matchups end up happening, but in any case, he stated that for Ilia, this is a good warm-up fight. He further added that if Islam did not want to fight Ilia, that would create a messy situation.
Jeff, even win at 170 pounds? Does he become a two-weight division champion? Because Jack Della Maddalena is no walk in the park. We saw that Saturday night. He beat Belal Muhammad, that in some ways might be a bigger, stronger version of Islam Makhachev. They certainly have a similar style. Belal Muhammad's boxing was certainly improved, and you can't question the chit, okay? He took a tremendous amount of damage and still pushed forward. So if I'm Jack Della Maddalena, I've just beat Belal Muhammad. Now a smaller version, Islam, wants to come up that maybe isn't as clean as a striker as Jack, that does have, I would say, Ilia Topuria, given everything that he's done in the sport, the confidence that he's shown,
the manifestation is,
the kids say, but bringing it all to a reality, knocking out everyone in his way, doing it in absolute style, hardly breaking a sweat, not having to fight through any adversity, not being the hammer and the nail. He's just been the hammer, just hammering his way through everyone. If he beats Charles Oliveira, which I would assume that he's going to be the favourite to do, and that's with absolutely no disrespect towards Charles Oliveira at all, but Charles is getting a little bit older. If he loses to Ilia Topuria, Ilia becomes the champion. Ilia might say, nah, that, you wouldn't fight me when I was the champ, now I'm not fighting you, okay? You've got to earn it. You're coming off a loss to Jack Della Maddalena. I'm just saying it could create a very messy situation. I think he deserves the opportunity. I say they do an interim belt in the meantime, because you don't know, does Islam win? Does Islam get injured? Does he stay out of the fight game for 6 months, 9 months? Maybe he hurts himself in training camp and he's out for a year whilst preparing for a welterweight title fight. And then in the meantime, you've got the lightweight division moving on with all the contenders that they have.
Moving on, Stephen Thompson weighed in by stating that the UFC should allow Islam Makhachev to retain his lightweight title while pursuing a second belt. He pointed out that the promotion has had double champions in the past and believes Makhachev has earned the opportunity to join that elite group.
The UFC let Islam hang on to his belt after everything he's accomplished?
I think so. I mean, why not? I mean, we've had double champs before, and it's been a while since we had, double champs. When was the last double champ, if you mind me asking?
It's a good question, man. Well, we had DC, right? He was a double champ.
I know Conor McGregor was a double champ, obviously.
Henry Cejudo.
Henry Cejudo. But it's been a while since we've had a double champ. So if he goes up and beats Bilal, awesome. We'll see if he stays in the welterweight division. But I think his true division is going to be the 155er. I think he wants to kind of do something a little different. He wants to, make his mark in the UFC history by becoming double champion.
Steven added that Islam Makhachev has done all he could at 155 pounds, and it's clear Ilia Topuria wants that fight. He emphasized that Makhachev versus Topuria must happen, calling it the biggest possible matchup for the division right now.
What he can with the 155ers. Obviously, Ilia Topuria wants to come up and wants to make that fight happen, but I would like to see that fight. I really would like to. If he goes up and wins it, you gotta fight Topuria after. He's got fairly good boxing, but he's just relentless with his wrestling. I think with his wrestling background, I think he can nullify Ilia Topuria's jiu-jitsu and keep him flat on his back. Not really, he probably could submit him, but I think where, Islam and Khabib were so good at is just being very top heavy and just breaking his opponent's spirits. Like, that's their specialty. They break their spirits. Like, they just lay like a heavy, 100-pound wet blanket on top of you, and they make you struggle to get up to your feet. You're giving everything you got to get back up to your feet. Now, it's an interesting fight for sure, because anybody could win it. It's a flip of a coin at that level, and everybody has a puncher's chance, especially as hard as Topuria can hit. He can change a fight around really quick at any point in time. But just the consistency of Islam Makhachev.
As the drama surrounding Islam Makhachev, Ilia Topuria, and the future of the UFC lightweight division continues to unfold, the MMA community remains divided, with multiple perspectives on what should come next, from the potential title fight against Jack Della Maddalena to the possible showdown with Charles Oliveira or Ilia Topuria. One thing is clear, fans are eager for answers. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more fight updates, and ring the bell so you never miss a beat in the MMA world.